Hey everybody, welcome to the Midnight Fright Cast, episode number 98. Can you believe we're almost at 100? How weird is that? I am your host, the Doctor of Filmonomics, Greg, and with me is the Frightastic Four. I guess that's all of us. So the other three of the Frightastic Four. We've got our Scream Queen, Maddie.
Good afternoon, morning, whatever it is.
We have also our intern, Josh.
Continuing to intern. Thank you.
Showing intern wrist. Nope, that's bad. I'm cutting that out. And last but not least, we have the Doctor of Everything Else, Patrick.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
We don't edit, Greg. Interest is staying in.
Says you. No, I'm the one who edits. All right, we're gonna get jumping right into this. We're gonna get trashy. We're gonna talk about a trailer here, a little trailer trash. We watched a trashy trailer, if I say so myself. It was Deer Camp 86. Josh, what do you have to say about checking out Deer Camp 86?
Okay, so the reason I brought this trailer up is because, first of all, it looks indie, like micro as fuck. So I will start with that. But it's also, it looks like a smaller indie film that has some sort of theatrical release because it's playing here at Marcus Theaters. And so I thought that was really interesting. And films like that should also get their shout out, right?
For sure.
It leans very much into the horror comedy, which we haven't really gotten a lot of this year, I don't feel like. And I think we kind of need those films right now to kind of break up all the trauma that we've been watching lately. Like films like Deer Camp 86 and Lisa Frankenstein and those like kind of horror comedy films that are coming out are helping, I feel like, break up some of the films that have come out this year that have been all just super drama and kind of depressing. So it looks really interesting. You know, it has this like Tucker and Dale kind of feel to it to me a little bit. Group of friends just kind of going out on a break somewhere. And I think I read that they land on like some like it's like a Native American burial ground and they summon some creature. So, but it looks really, I thought it looked really interesting. Like I said, the indie aspect of it is what kind of drove me to it.
Fair enough. Maddie, what are your thoughts?
I do think it's kind of funny that Josh says we haven't had, enough horror comedies, because I personally, if I watch one more horror comedy this year, I'm going to vomit blood. That being said, I did think this looked really fun. They actually, like, the filming and everything looked really smooth for, an indie movie. It looked really nice. Like good quality. I'm not sure if I'd hunt this down because it does kind of seem like something we've seen a lot before. Group of guys going out in the woods, having their whole little camp moment. But it does look fun, and I would definitely check it out if it like wandered across my, streaming feed.
Excellent. Patrick.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about the creature in this particular film itself, because it seemed not like a normal creature for an outdoors film. It seemed kind of supernatural, more than what we're used to seeing, where it's either a creature or some backwoodsman that was inbred or anything like that. So what we saw of the creature in this trailer really kind of piqued my interest because it makes it a little bit different than the other things we've seen.
Fair. I'm still kind of on the fence about this. I do agree with you, Josh. This did have a very Dale versus Tucker, or Dale and Tucker versus Evil, excuse me, feel to it. However, I don't know that I had a draw to this one particularly. It does seem like that tired old trope out in the woods. You bring out some weirdness and chaos ensues. And I don't know about the creature. The creature did look interesting. I will agree with you on that, Patrick. But I don't know that it piqued my interest enough to want to chase this. So I might watch it only as a space filler for maybe a 31 Days of Horror challenge, or if when we get to our end of the year and I need to knock out a couple more things, I'll watch it. But it did not feel like one that I would want to chase on a normal. So
I feel like we haven't done an episode for a little while, and I feel like Maddie almost started our first fight, and I feel very proud of myself for sitting over here and biting my tongue and not starting a fight. So I just wanted to point out that while I could have started an argument here, I'm not going to. Thank you very much.
What the fuck did I do?
Well, no, you know what? Nothing, Maddie. And you know what? We can discuss it maybe after the episode is over. So
no, I think we need this discussion now.
I was going to say, we need. Don't take the drama away from this.
No, because maybe I missed them all. Maybe I'm just not watching enough horror this year. I mean, it's June. I feel like I've seen quite a bit, but maybe I missed all of the horror comedies that Maddie's been watching.
Oh no, I haven't been watching them. I feel like most of the stuff we've been watching for the podcast has been like horror comedy leaning. I don't know really about this year, like movie wise in general. I just feel like for some reason there's been a lot of horror comedies in my face.
Okay, I can only name one. That's why I'm asking. So I'm not going to be an asshole. I just wanted I could only name one horror comedy that we watched for the podcast so far. But again, it's been a while since we've casted, so I could have forgotten all of them as well.
I mean,
so
porno was horror comedy, and then we're gonna count Winnie the Pooh as horror comedy because that was a fucking joke. And then Cocaine Bear, and then I don't know. I feel like there's just been a lot of very lighthearted horror. Oh, what's that Nickelodeon ass horror movie we watched? Totally Killer.
The only one I could think of was like the Thriller Killer.
Totally Killer.
Totally Killer.
Yeah, that was the only one I could think of. Like, I guess I didn't lean into horror comedy for Cocaine Bear, or look, I will give you Winnie the Pooh. I will give you that. I will give you that. Yeah, but I'm listen, I don't feel like we watched enough horror comedy to vomit blood.
More than one is enough to vomit blood for me.
Well,
I am over that genre.
That's where we're at then. Okay. I'm not saying you're not wrong. I was just trying to figure out what I've missed this year, or what I couldn't think of because, I forget shit. So
That's
I was just looking. Okay. Anyway, I'm not mad. That wasn't even really a fight. That was just like, I just needed a reminder. So
no problem.
That was a spat.
No blood, no foul.
No blood, no foul. No vomiting blood, no foul.
This is why we don't cast in person anymore.
Because Josh would die.
I would die.
All right. We have reached June 1st. Actually, today's June 2nd, but that doesn't make a difference. We've reached the halfway point of 2024, and Maddie had a thought to talk about some of the trends that are happening for horror this year. So, Maddie, you're up.
Yeah, as I said, we're, halfway through the year. I thought we could kind of do like a check-in, just kind of talk about what trends we were seeing in 2024 horror, what we would like to see, what we don't like, what's kind of going on. I've actually watched more 2024 horror than normal. Like, normally I am years behind movies that should be coming out or that we should watch, but I feel like movies are coming out a lot faster now. I feel like I see a trailer and they're like, oh, it's coming out next week, tomorrow, whatever. So I remember them a little bit better, so I remember to watch them. As far as overall, I'm not loving what I'm seeing, but I'm not hating it either. I feel like the last few years, everything that I watched almost everything that I've been watching has been god awful. And this year, everything's been pretty mediocre, but god awful to mediocre is still a positive step. So I'll take it. One weird kind of trend, and we'll talk about this more with the next movie. For some reason, I've seen 2 or 3 2024 horror that kind of dissolves about 2/3 of the way through, and it's just the character wandering around in weird like hellscapes. I'm not about that. It's like 2 movies that I've watched, or 3, whatever, have dissolved into that, and it's so weird to me, and it kind of very much reads, I've run out of material and ideas and have to make up stuff for this last third of the movie. I am really liking that everything's kind of hitting at about an hour and a half. There was kind of a thing for a while where horror was kind of keeping up with everything else, where movies were getting to be 2.5, 3 hours long. And it's very hard to do that with a horror movie, I feel like, and keep the attempted suspension and everything going. So I am really liking that hour and a half thing that's kind of going on. Like, bravo for everybody. It still seems too long for some movies, but I'm digging that. That's kind of my thoughts on 2024.
Are you just seeing like titles and trailers that look more interesting to you, Maddie? Or like, why do you feel like you're watching more horror in 2024 than in the past years?
I'm seeing different stuff. I mean, we're still swimming in a sea of remakes, reboots, and sequels, which is not
Mhm.
great. But I'm
Right.
seeing people trying. I also will say, like, in my personal life, I just have more time and the bandwidth to watch a movie, so that kind of has a lot to do with it. But like, I'm seeing people trying different things, and even as I said, I don't think all those tries have been successful. I'm seeing more new ideas coming
Mhm.
out that I kind of want to check out.
Right. I don't know. I still feel like, um, some of the movies that we're gonna probably check out here, um, have kind of escaped the Hollywood, touch. And some of them played um, in theaters, but others, just were really big festival films, and those are the ones that I think that we're going to see this year that are way more interesting than just kind of like you said, really, Maddie. That's the Hollywood horrors. Just they've just ran out of ideas, and they're just cramming shit in to sell it. And we're seeing like the supernatural horror is still very much got a grip on people with Imaginary and the first Omen that came out and Immaculate that came out, and all those came out within the first few months of 2024. I'm looking forward to, we talked about stop motion, and we I was very much looking forward to Lovely Dark and Deep that we checked out. Late Night with the Devil, it played in theaters, but that didn't feel like a big Hollywood horror film to me. So those are the films that I think I'm looking forward to the most. There's a film that just played in theaters last week for like a week run called I Saw the TV Glow. That looked really interesting, but I missed it. But again, didn't have that big money feel to it. And then a film that came out Friday that just started. Can't remember a violent.
In a Violent
In a
Nature.
Violent Nature.
Yes.
I'm
Again,
looking forward to that one.
so different. It looks so different, and those are the films um, that I think we need 100% need more of that stuff. Just something new. Even if that movie sucks on Tuesday, I will be like, that was different. It was new. It didn't have the same, just Hollywood feel to it. And where they just threw a bunch of money at something that was garbage. And I've seen a handful of those this year already.
Do you feel like horror might be on the upswing? Because I know the last 4 years we talked about the utter garbage that has just been spewing out into not even just theaters but streaming. But with the pool of prequel, sequels, and reboots, are these movies kind of the new the new way to look at horror films as, hey, we are trying to give you something new. We're trying to give you something as fresh as we can. That's not a sequel, not a prequel, not a reboot.
It depends on whose hands you're putting it in. I mean, if you're putting in, and I'm about to shit on something I defended, I think, last time, but if you're putting it in the hands of A24 and you're putting it into the hands of Blumhouse and you're putting it into those hands of like just people that really have, I feel like, have no love for horror but have the money to make it, we're just going to continue to see some of the garbage that comes out. But some of these films that have filmmakers behind them that just don't have those big names, I think if you continue to put this genre in those hands, you're going to get new stuff. You're going to get new stuff and original stuff and stuff you haven't seen before. And, those are the people that just need an opportunity to get their stuff out in the more mainstream kind of world.
I guess I do agree with you on that one. It's the directing pool is it's hurting right now for good directors anyways. But yeah, I feel like I would rather see a little bit more of a tired trope of the I'm lost in a weird psychedelic trip place that Maddie, you had mentioned, and especially in our next film that we review is one of the bigger pieces in there. I would rather see that than like Scream 16 Ghostface in space or whatever.
Ghostface in space would be fucking awesome.
You shut your mouth. Nobody listened to that. Nobody listened to that.
No, sorry. I am a big believer in shitty slasher movies in space.
I know you are, but there's
a
time and a place.
Out early 2025.
Ghostface in space. I'll be there.
God damn it. Patrick, do you have any thoughts?
No, just kind of bouncing back to, what we're seeing a trend in, and Maddie kind of hit on it, is how quickly things are not, you see the trailer and then you find out it's in the theaters and then 3 weeks later you can find it on streaming. It's just amazing how quickly this content is coming out right now, regardless of the genre, I guess. But yeah, it's almost too complicated to keep up at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I had a conversation with someone the other day about how movie theater prices and just the content that's coming to theaters is gonna, it's gonna have the blockbuster treatment here real quick. These films that are coming out land 3 weeks. You go to see the movie. It's got 8 people in the theater on a Friday night. That's not good. That's not a good look. And then, like you said, it's on streaming 3 weeks later. It's gonna kill movie theaters. That's what it's gonna do. And it's terrible that that's where we're at on some of this stuff. So I love that it's coming to streaming, 3 weeks later or whatever it is. But some of these movies you don't get the same experience watching it at home as you're gonna get, seeing it in the movie theater.
Well, I'm wondering if a lot of those directors are able to do a little bit more, or not do more, but they're able to pump those out as quickly as they are because they're creating these for streaming services and not necessarily for theaters anymore, which, it sucks because you sit in a theater full of people and something pops out from behind the door and half the theater screams. That's an experience. That's half the fun of going and seeing those movies. Where if you're sitting alone in your basement with the lights out and the same thing happens, you either fallen asleep or you pissed yourself and you never want to watch a horror movie again.
Well, and I'm going to try not to start another rant against capitalism, but people just don't have disposable income anymore. I don't really have movie theater money, although I will do a real quick local plug. We do have a drive-in theater here in Nebraska, and the prices are half of what they are, to go to the theater, and you have that different experience. So it's Quasar, it's up in Valley. I haven't been there, but it gets good reviews. So if you want that experience, there are ways to get it, but just going to the theater with a family of 4 anymore is easily $100+ why?
Well, and you got to look at the theaters that are in your major towns. the theater company, and I won't mention them because I don't really want to. They're doing multiplexes, like the big monster movie houses, which is all fine and great and all, but we've got one that's out by us where their lobby itself is ginormous, and you got to pay for that stuff. And so these theater tickets are going up and up and up to just try to maintain those. What happened to the small little local community theaters where you have 1 or 2 screens and you don't have to pay half of a mortgage just to keep the damn thing open per month?
There was a documentary that came out called Movie Pass, Movie Fail. And the theater that we have here, they did Movie Pass for, it's like $15 for the month. You can go see as many movies as you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realized that people were going to see as many movies as they wanted to. And they're like, well, we can't afford this shit. And they got rid of them. So,
Which is weird because the theaters don't make any money on the tickets, so that shouldn't bother them. And these people should be going in, and hopefully they're not sneaking in snacks, but at least getting concessions. I know that concessions aren't the most inexpensive thing either, but that's where the theater makes their money. And so I thought it was a genius move that they did that.
I will say I am a certified snack sneaker, and I don't really go to the movie theaters anymore, but again, if I just paid like $20 for a ticket, I'm not paying like $20 for popcorn that I know that's been sitting there for 8 days. So I've got my flask, I've got my dots. I'm gonna just stay there and not bother myself.
I mean, Dollar Tree is the same size boxed candy as they do at the theaters. So $125 versus like $7-8. Yeah.
Yep.
I get it. I get it, but again, that money is going back into the theater, and that's what's keeping the theatrical experience alive.
That's where they make the majority of their money.
Right.
Yeah. Again, capitalism, but I'm not going to start that.
Okay. So we all watched a movie. Maddie recommended this movie. It's called Megalomaniac. It's on Shudder, and I believe Patrick has the deets. Patrick, hit us.
I do have the deets for Megalomaniac. Is that correct?
Yes.
Here we go.
Yes.
Megalomaniac 2022 on Shudder right now. Martha and Felix are the children of the Butcher of Mons, a notorious Belgian serial killer from the 1990s. Unstable and riddled with insecurities, Martha lives vicariously through social media. Her brother, crushed by the family legacy, takes over the father's killings, and harassed and violently assaulted at work, the docile Martha falls into madness and goes through the looking glass into the strange and terrifying world inhabited by her brother. IMDb rating 5.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes score of 84% critics rating and I missed that one, heading back over to get it, and an 83% audience rating.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that is weird.
Maddie, what was your prompting for recommending this movie?
I love European extreme horror. I've been chasing this movie for a really long time because I think we were talking about it before the cast. This took a really long time to get American distribution, so I've just been kind of waiting for this to come out. But I thought it was like kind of an interesting twist on like the serial killer movie, like showing like their children, the children of serial killers, that kind of thing. So I just thought this was something different in my favorite genre. And again, I feel like we've been really cheerful on this podcast of the movies we've been picking, and I wanted to bring that back down to earth a little bit.
Okay, so we are going to be, this is a fairly recent release. We discussed it came out in 2023 in the Americas, but it has been out since 2022. So we are going to go ahead and go spoiler on this. So if you do not want spoilers, go watch Megalomaniac and then come back and listen to us. But we are going spoilers from here on out. Josh, what'd you think of Megalomaniac?
I don't know why you're starting with me. You're crazy here, dude. I was talking to Maddie a little bit before, while you guys were off checking out the trailers. And, you know, I started this movie and then I paused it for a little bit. First of all, I started this movie like 12:30 in the morning. So that was a bad idea. On Shudder, if you go underneath the title, people can leave a comment after they watch the movie and kind of give it a like out of 5 stars kind of thing. And I was watching this movie, I got a little ways, and then I was like, I'm just gonna copy and paste all the comments that I kind of agree on, and share those comments on the podcast today. Because my first note on Megalomaniac was, "What is happening?" I have no idea. I didn't know from the jump like what is going on, and I also had like a hard time. I usually have to watch a foreign film twice because I don't read the subtitles very fast, so I have to go back and like reread them, or I miss something, or so I already struggle with foreign films anyway. There's no way in a million years I was gonna watch this a second time. So I was just like, if I miss dialogue or if I miss something, I just miss it, and that's just how it's gonna be. Because I was just kind of like lost from the jump, and so and so that opening scene, I was just like, okay, this is how we're starting. This is setting the tone. I'm gonna guess for the whole goddamn movie, and I know this shit's gonna get worse. And I already hate Maddie, so I just like, I just like, I'm gonna lean into it and see what happens. And it nothing got better. Like I felt like I was wearing an arm of band-aids, and every time something happened, I just had to rip one off and just feel the pain of watching this movie. And I uh I remember having this conversation when we watched Martyrs, and just getting to the end of that movie and being so fucking mad, and just I was pissed. I was pissed at that movie. And look, I can deal with violence. I don't, I don't need to feel safe and comforted, and like I can deal with horror movie violence. I struggle with the realistic violence I feel like I'm watching when I'm watching these kinds of movies, and they just make me angry. And this was no exception. I was just pissed. I was angry every time that woman that they had held captive, that the second one that was in the, I can't even fucking explain it. I was just so mad watching it. And the scene where the the sister was like, where those two dudes just like violently fucking did what they did, like all that stuff just makes me mad. And so I watched this movie just angry and pissed off. I didn't know. I kept seeing this black demon show up. No idea where the fuck that came from. Somebody explain that to me. I just missed things. I missed things, and the only things I didn't miss was all the violence that I was hating. And I'm sure this movie is for somebody. It's just not for me. So that is my rant.
That was a solid rant.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Actually, that Josh did bring up one piece that I wanted to clarify, and if either Maddie or Patrick can answer it, the black demons. As far as I understood it, were they like whenever the dad or the brother killed somebody? Is I feel like that's when they showed up. Are they like the reincarnated demon version of those that they killed?
I kind of interpret it as, because I feel like we were only seeing them when like the point of view was with Martha. So I kind of, and she was obviously a little mentally unstable.
Right.
And so I kind of assumed, it was like something she was seeing because she wasn't like mentally on this side of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh, you keep saying when we watched Martyrs. I don't feel like we covered Martyrs on the podcast, because Greg, did you ever watch Martyrs?
I never did. No.
In Martyrs, there's a very similar kind of thing where the main character, who is also very mentally unwell, is seeing like a demonic presence.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of there and never really explained, or kind of explained. There's a little more explanation in that than in this one, but that's kind of what I interpreted. The little like demon people. with.
demon at the end, though, the black demon thing at the end, though, that was the dad,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
From the beginning of the movie, right? Okay.
Yeah,
So-
that was the dad throughout. Every time they showed the fat bald guy.
Right.
Yeah.
The quick little snips or the quick little cuts. Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay. So at the end, this is spoiler upon spoilers. The end, she has the rape baby, and then the dad appears as the black demon. What?
Yeah, then it just cuts off. Then that's just the end of the movie.
Well, I think it's supposed to be left open because it starts with a birth and ends with a birth.
Right,
And
I get that.
what I think they're trying to say is that this is it's going to be a continuous loop. It's just going to keep happening. And even when they showed the mother at the very beginning giving birth to Martha, you saw how big and red her eyes were. It was obvious there was something going on with her. So for me, it just seemed like there was just pure evil in these people, and it's something that's going to be passed on from generation to generation, possibly through incest. Lord knows that, because they threw that whole wrench of the gears there as well.
Yeah, that's true. Also, thank you for that. I was wondering if that was Martha at the very beginning, but it never really truly dawned on me. But also, don't watch
that was Martha's mom, and they handed the kid over to Felix,
to her
who's
brother.
the brother.
Yeah, I see that now, but again, don't watch an extreme French horror movie when you're really, really tired. That's a bad idea. Okay, Patrick, what do you got?
As I'm watching this film, I'm thinking this is a film Maddie's really going to dig. And I'm waiting to hear for sure. However, it grew on me after a while. And the reason it grew on me is because I wanted to hate Martha, but I couldn't, because she was a victim throughout the entire film. She is the way she is because of her environment and what has been forced upon her. I wanted to hate her as a villain, but I could not. Even to the end, I could not hate her. It made me feel uncomfortable all the way through, because I had that struggle going on. Felix, obvious piece of shit. But Martha had this, between the way her brother owned her, and I think that's a good word to use, because he treated her like a piece of property. And then, the horrendous things that happened to her at work, being raped by both of the brothers. And then, because I think all three of them were brothers, were they not?
I don't think so.
I didn't understand one way or another.
Because at one point she said something, she turned to Jerome, who's the guy who watched everything but didn't do anything about it. And she said to him, "And you're going to be an uncle."
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think somebody was related in there, but I didn't really understand.
Because it was kind of weird, because she stated, "I don't know who the father is, but I know you're going to be an uncle." So that's why I assumed they were all three brothers. But anyway, all this stuff that's happening to her, just horrible, horrible, horrible. And she gets pregnant, and all this other stuff happens. I just had a hard time. I didn't root for her, but I felt for her. I couldn't justify any of her actions, killing the social worker, but I understood the actions. And I kind of hope that makes sense. So, at the end of the day, is it a film I'm going to watch again? No, definitely not. But is it a film I appreciate taking the time to have at least seen? Yeah.
Interesting. I'm interested in your take as Martha as the villain. Like I get where you're coming from, because she's the daughter of this butcher guy, but I never ever pictured her as a villain in this. Like, definitely victim from the get-go, but I'm interested.
I say villain from the sense of what her actions were.
Like throughout the film?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. She was definitely a victim from the very beginning.
Okay. Yeah, I was.
But she chose to also play a villain because look at the title, is Megalomaniac, and that's about presuming you have power over another person.
For sure.
And so her brother does it over her.
Mhm.
The rapists do it over her. So then she in turn does it over Julia, the woman that is held captive in their house, and then
Mhm.
also the social worker.
Okay. Okay, I can see that now. I guess I felt compassion for her throughout the entire film, even when she was in that. Again, just because of her environment, she was brought up that this is how we roll. This is what we do. And so it looked like she was just kind of waiting for her turn to get her opportunity, I guess. So, interesting. I did really actually enjoy this movie. It is a brutal film for sure, but this is a horror movie. Like, there is no questioning on any plane of what the genre is. This is a definite horror movie, and it was almost kind of refreshing to watch this and not have that ambiguity come up of trying to mash different genres into one. This was a horror movie, and because of that, I really felt like it was an enjoyable watch to a certain extent. The thing that really kind of pushed me away from it was the time that it took to get through the story. It felt like it was a very slow moving story. And again, don't watch a movie like this late at night when you're tired because you'll lose it, but it was hard to kind of stay within what was going on just because the director took so long to get to each different scene and get through the scenes. Um, but I really liked that approach to it because it gave me a chance to really absorb the production side of this film. And blood, guts, and gore aside, this is a beautifully shot film. There were a couple scenes in there that just absolutely blew my mind. For example, there was the one where she was standing in, I think it was the living room, looking into a mirror, and Felix came up behind her and they were talking back and forth. Wow. Just an absolutely beautiful shot. And I think where a lot of my appreciation for this film came from was the 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 painting of what they did with this with the cinematography on scene. Just that was the biggest piece of it for me. The story, I enjoyed it. It wasn't one of my favorite ones, but it was worth watching. Again, I'm glad I'm glad to have watched it. I might go back and rewatch it just to see if I can pick up any things that I missed first time around. But it's not something that I'm gonna go back to every Halloween or anything like that. So, yeah, as I did actually like this movie.
Her
Maddie,
biggest plot twist in 2024.
what's that?
I said the biggest plot twist of 2024.
Right. All right, Maddie, do you want to dive in?
Yeah. So I, for one, am going to have to rewatch this movie. Because honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. And Josh and I were talking about this before, because I had very different expectations than what it was. And so I spent a really long time waiting and chasing this movie. And so I read a bunch of crap online, and I was really expecting this movie got compared to Martyrs a lot. Now, Martyrs is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It probably is my all-time favorite horror movie. It's phenomenal. And so I was kind of expecting that, but as I said, I put Martyrs on such a high pedestal that comparing is just probably not the best idea. That said, I do think there are a lot of parallels between Martyrs and Megalomaniac. Not just uh, like where they're from and like they're kind of in the same genre, but the tone of the movie. This is not a very cheerful movie, and Martyrs is definitely not either. I did watch this in two parts because I was an idiot and started it at like 9 o'clock. And so I watched the first like half an hour of it and was like, oh, I gotta go to bed. I loved that first half hour. I had so much hope for it because it gave me the ick. I was like, everyone in this movie's fucking creepy, and I don't love it. I mean, I love it, but I don't. You know what I mean? It's just everybody gave me the ick. I was like, but I was really looking forward to it. I was like, this man just bit somebody's labia off. That thing is
Ugh.
on there, man.
Yeah.
And so I was just like looking forward to so much of that brutality and that violence throughout the movie, and it just fell a little short for me there. Overall, I just think this was such, as you said, it was a stunningly shot movie. There was obviously so much talent in front of the camera and behind the camera. I'll give a shout out to the guy that played Felix, because in like real human life, that is a gorgeous human being. In this movie, I'm like, you can stay over in Belgium. I don't know where Belgium is because I'm a dumb American, but I want you to stay over there because I know it's far away. Um, I I said I liked this movie because it was very thought provoking, but it had it was fell in a different area of expectations that I had for it. So I didn't rewatch it for this cast. I want to give it a little bit longer, and then I plan on rewatching it. One thing, and this is kind of a weird like praise for anything, but so many extreme horror movies, the they include rape scenes, unfortunate, but it happens, but they're so prolonged and detailed and whatever. And they didn't do that in this movie. I mean, they were violent, but they were very brief. They weren't super super graphic like they are in some other extreme horror. And I appreciated that because I'm like, rape in horror movies to me is kind of like the last draw card of shock. So to have that in there, and it did push the plot along and was a central part of the plot, but not focusing on it, was great. Great rape, gentlemen. That's fantastic. And I never want to say that phrase again. Um, but yeah, this was a really, I think it was a good movie. It just was different than what I was expecting. My biggest criticism is a couple of different places this movie was described, like the plot line tag for it was like a commentary on the weight of the patriarchy. And I took a little bit of exception to that because, first of all, as far as I can tell, it was a straight cisgendered male that made this movie. I don't want a straight man's commentary on the weight of the patriarchy. You don't experience it. I don't want your thoughts on it. Like, I don't make a movie about being a black man in the South because I'm not a black man in the South, and I think this is kind of like inappropriate to make. So just I didn't like that, but I didn't understand what this movie was trying to say about that, unless it was just that it's miserable. So that kind of lost me a little bit, but overall, like, this is a movie I will definitely revisit, and I definitely liked it, and I would love to see more from everybody in this movie.
Anybody else have anything they would like to say about Megalomaniac?
I do have a question. In your guys' minds, were the demons real or in her head? Because there was one point when Julia, the captive in the house, looked up and the creature was crawling around the corner of a staircase or something like that. And that's when but it was when Martha was fantasizing about having sex with her own brother. So I couldn't tell if what she was seeing was real or not.
I feel like they were real. Otherwise, why would they bring back Daddy Butcher at the end like they did if it wasn't going to be a real thing and just in her mind?
Daddy Butcher. That. I think like a lot of this movie that could be open to interpretation, because like also that woman's not having a good time. Obviously, she's like half naked and chained to some weirdo's floor. So like she could also be having some little mental health moments. You know what I mean? So I don't really know. I couldn't tell you if I thought those were supposed to be real or not.
Excellent. Because even at the end, I wasn't sure that the father came back to life or if that was just some sort of commentary.
Well, because if he does come back to life, that kind of pushes this movie in like a weird other genre. Because then he's
Mhm.
doing some like necromancy up there,
Right,
and
because
like
then it kind of runs into that Hellraiser area where,
Mhm.
blood of something brings somebody back to life.
Right, but if you think about it,
yeah,
the only time that you ever saw the black demons, it was somebody else seeing them, whether it be Martha or it was Julia, the captive.
Hmm.
It was either one of those two. And at the end there, when he comes back, the three of them are in the living room after she just gave birth. So why would he be a figment of their imagination or whatever it might happen to be if they were all in the other room and he was upstairs digging up out of the floor dirt?
yeah. Because as I said, if he actually like came back, then I don't know. Because like the rest of this movie was, I don't want to say realistic, but like the violence and just kind of everything else that was going on was kind of like in the realm of possibility, and then they just kind of like hit you with that. It almost is like um the first Terrifier, where you're like, okay, this is a little outlandish, but fine. And then at the end, when he like comes back to life, then you're like, okay, what the fuck? I don't know. I rarely see movies like this get like a sequel. So it kind of leaves it open almost for like a sequel.
It does.
I can't see this movie in space, so I mean, they can't go too wild with it, right?
Okay. Then from all of us here, no, my goodness, we did not. We got to rate it.
We did. What is with you and Josh
We
not
gotta, we gotta
rating
do
these
it. We gotta
things?
rate this film.
I apologize. That was a terrible. So we just rate on the one scale of the overall. Josh, what would you rate Megalomaniac?
Nay. Look, I love horror films. I do. And maybe after listening to you guys, boy, do I feel fucking soft. Because I mean, I just did not, dig as much as you guys did. Greg, I mean, I will agree with you on like it visually, it looked really good. Visually, it was a lot of fun to look at from that DP point of view of like beautiful shots. But like beyond that, um, I'm gonna go 4.5 for me. I can't wait though for you all to just smash it with like great numbers. So
Patrick, you're up.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about smashing it with great numbers here. Like I said, I watched it with an appreciation more than sitting there and thinking, this is such an awesome film. I'm going to put it around a 6.5.
Okay, Maddie.
It's hard because I need to rewatch this without my like weird expectations of it, holding it up as I said against Sparters, but I liked it. I did. It did grow on me. And I thought about it for a while after, so I'm actually gonna give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sit right in that 6 realm. I think that fits really nicely. Again, I kind of want to go back and rewatch it just to see if the stuff that I may have missed and again, see the stunning visuals. I think that would be a great revisit. But yeah, 6 I think is a good spot for that to live.
Okay, Greg, since you're the only one that hasn't seen Martyrs, since this movie was compared to Martyrs, do you feel compelled to go see it?
I don't know if I would use the word compelled, but I'm intrigued more by the thought of watching it.
Martyrs, like I swore we had watched that for the podcast, and the only reason I said that is because when Maddie jumped in, I feel like from the beginning was picking these French extreme horror because we watched a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have.
Yeah,
I just thought Martyrs was in that group. And I could not tell you the name or the names of the rest of them that Maddie has picked. I'd have to go back and see if I can find them. But Martyrs stuck. Martyrs stuck in my brain super hard. And that's why I feel like we had watched it for the podcast.
Yeah, no, I think Martyrs stuck in your brain a lot because Maddie kept asking me over and over if I'd seen Martyrs yet, because that was one of the films I promised to watch like at the start of one of the years. So Maddie kept asking me if I had seen it or not.
Got it.
And I bring it up a lot because I said it's like my favorite horror movie.
Yeah, and I think, Greg, you're the only one in the group who has not seen Martyrs.
Okay, well, black mark on me then.
No, it's fine. It's one of those, like, I don't know. Like I said, I fucking love Martyrs, but if extreme horror isn't really your thing, I will say it's kind of a miserable watch.
Frontiers. Frontiers was the other one.
Frontiers.
And see, I liked
I
Frontiers.
was gonna say, yeah, Frontiers was great. Frontiers was fun though. Like,
whatever you say, I want to argue with you. I'm terrified.
Okay, then now we've rated from all of us here at the Midnight Frightcast. Unless anybody else has anything they would like to say. Solid. I am the Doctor of Filmonomics. Greg. With us is Maddie, Josh, and Patrick. We will be back with another horror movie review for you very soon. Until then, have a great day.